Kick and chase by Mullins. Kick and chase again by Mullins. It'll be a miracle. Oh, it is a miracle. Fafita tries to crash his way over. He does. Fafita got the ball over the line.
Hunter's kick is over the sideline for a 40-20.
Yeah, g'day champions and welcome to 40-20 Sports. Round 14, all done and dusted. Couple of big scores coming in. A couple of subpar scores from yours truly coming in as well. We've had a rough couple of weeks there in the supercoach realm. So, first of all, massive congratulations to Scott, coach of a Bellamy Spray. Top scored the 40-20 Cup this week with 1,513. So a cracking week from you, mate, flying up the ranks. Also, we've got a new leader in the 40-20 Cup, Cockadoodle-Doo. He's been up there before. Congratulations to you, mate. You're up the top now. The Ferrets, we scored 992. Bit of a poor week. We've got some absolute superstars sitting on the bench. Unfortunately, didn't crack a good score. Moves us into 413th, so we're still up atop the top 500, so we're really in a really good spot. I think the numbers I've got for round 16 are about 14 players already, and 19 we're sitting at 13. So we've sort of planned for the back end of the buys to come in nice and hot. Dropped 262 places, and we're 13th now in the 40-20 Cup. So a few average weeks. Probably the damage isn't as bad as what I thought it was going to be. You know, still top 500. I sort of thought I would slip out of the 1,000 just looking at how my side was sort of looking for the round of 13 and 14. I knew I wasn't positioned very well, but I knew I was positioned well for round 16 and 19. So fingers crossed we can make a few leaps in the next couple of weeks. We will get into it for our Thursday game. For our Thursday game, the Sharkies up against the Dolphins there at PointsBet Stadium. Not a lot going on there. Kyle Iro, he just continues to chug away, getting 50s quite nicely there. Nico Hines back named at the 7 for all those who held him. Potentially he loses his origin spot. I don't know if he will or not. It'll be interesting to see what Maguire does there, gives him another chance or whatnot. Moses knocking down the door. But again, he had a bit of a rough week last week as well. So be interesting to see what happens there. Look, I've still held him, so I would be a very happy owner if he doesn't make the origin squad. Supercoach-wise, for their forward pack, Sia Sifatalakai had an absolute blinder there playing 80 minutes. If he plays there for the next couple of weeks, look, I think he could be an option. He's very cheap, 396k, break even of 8. So, bit of a shame he doesn't play the round 16 bye. Otherwise, I think he'd be a really good option this week. He is down 173k from what he is usually. That's because he spent that much time on the bench. But the last couple of weeks, he's been good. I'm looking through his points per minute. They've been absolutely phenomenal. Points per minute. 1.1 last week against the Broncos with an 88 there. Got the 80 minutes on the edge. Into 36 minutes, 35 points. 22 minutes, 48 points. 31 minutes, 56 points. 19 minutes, 54 points. There is no doubt that he is an absolute superstar. If he can get those minutes, even playing in the back row, I believe. Just be interesting to see how they use him once Teague Wilton comes back. So, yeah, one to watch. Other than that, Cam McInnes, he's there at the 13. Tommy Hazelton moves back to the bench with Toby Rudolph coming into the starting side. Yeah, not a great deal going on. I will say that I didn't watch any football last weekend. I had a bit on with the long weekend. Had a bit of an event on for the whole weekend. So I'm going into this a little bit blind and a little bit sort of just running off Supercoach scores. I've sort of catch up, watched some highlights and that, but not 100% up to date with what's going on in the world from last week. But still, we've had a bit of a run over the Supercoach scores. For the Dolphins, Hammer in the fullback there. We get these boys back after coming back from the bye last week. Jermaine Asako, he's back. Bostock, Herbie Farnworth, Jake Avarillo make out the back 5 there. Look, nothing too different there. We got Ewan Aiken. We brought Ewan Aiken in for the round 13 bye. Really good, 80-something points. Gave a nice little offload there. He seems to be like he's going to be a good little purchase over the bye round, and Max Plath keeps banging out massive scores, especially that overtime game against Canberra. We've got to think back to that. That was their last game. So really good there from Ewan Aiken and Max Plath in that for the round 13. They were very, very handy buys. The sad news about Tommy Flegler there, bit of concern around his nerve damage in his shoulder. Wayne Bennett's come out and said that it could potentially be season-ending, if not career-ending. So our thoughts go with him. Fingers crossed he makes a speedy recovery. We are better for having him in the game, that is for sure. He's an out-and-out gun. For the Friday game, Raiders up against the Cowboys. The Raiders, they come off a bye as well. We've got the back seven is pretty much how you would expect it. Rapana Kotrick, Chris Savage, Strange and Weeks in the halves. Danny Levi in the 9. We played Danny Levi for the round 13. He got us 50 points. Somehow didn't get a bloody second try assist. I'm not sure how he didn't get that because it was the exact same as how he got his first one. But anyway, 50 from Danny Levi is bloody awesome. Well, I was pretty happy with that for his round 13 performance. Joey Tarpany, he went off in the round 13 performance as well. Like I said, against the Dolphins. Went to extra time. Joey Tarpany turning up. I don't know if it's a thing moving forward for him, but it is one we're going to have to watch. Joey Tarpany of old would, if the game went into extra time, he would 100% ton up. So we need to keep a bit of an eye on him. Morgan Smithies, we sold him last week. He is unfortunately just pumping out 40s. He's hemorrhaging cash. I believe he is a sell. I would like to move him on to someone with a little bit more uptick. I think we moved him on last week to Mitch Barnett, and Mitch Barnett did really well for us last week as well. I just don't see the upside. His work rate's really good, but his inefficiency to get an offload and a tackle bust really make him, I think he's just going to start bleeding these cash. So got to look at getting rid of Morgan Smithies, I believe, if you don't have all these other fires to take out. For the Cowboys, Scotty Drinkwater was the hero of round 13, round 14, only with a 45 points there, I think. Not great. The Cowboys just couldn't get it going against the Warriors from what I saw. Look, the Warriors, I think they're back. I think they have overcome all this early season, bit of a hangover from last year. But they look really good. The Cowboys, unfortunately, they look, we thought they were going to get a bit of a roll on. We've talked about them thinking that they could be a potentially top 8 team, just not to be this week. Last week. So Cowboys, they'll be looking to bounce back. They did have a lot of Origin stars out, though. I think they had 6 players playing in Origin. They were an early backup game as well, so one to watch. Keep an eye on them. Val Holmes, he scored out of 50 as well in a team that was easily beat. So I think Val potentially backs up every week that he gets the opportunity to. He doesn't play round 16 and 19 from now on, but he does play round 17 and 20, so we've got to look at him. I would be keeping him. After last week, I think we're going to find out how hard round 14 was, that we're going to have a bit of an opportunity there to sort of plan for round 17 and 20 as well. I think we really need to keep an eye on that. Other than that, Tuilagi, he comes back. Did and Chad Townsend. In the forwards, they get Reece Robson back. He's fine after his massive Origin stint. He was huge in Origin. Cotter moves in to the 10. Now, I'm not sure what this means for Ruben Cotter. I doubt he still gets 60-something minutes like we've been praying he pumps out. I think Toddy Payton probably saw what he did in Origin. He was just a cool head in the middle, really good defender. He has played a lot of prop, so I think he saw that, and he's really liking what he sees from Ruben Cotter. Jason Taumalolo is the one that comes in to the 13. Now, look, do we dare do it? I want to have a bit of a look at him this week. I think potentially Jason Taumalolo could be a bit of a score for round, obviously, 17 and 20. You're going to need numbers for that. He is dual second row forward, front row forward, 387k. He's very cheap. Break even of 14, so he is going to go up a little bit of money. But he does have a decent buy period coming up. Last 2 weeks, he's got over 50 minutes for scores of 65 and 49. Now, if we can get that in our front row for a guy that is 387k, I think if you have a Sam Hughes, really good update, you could do that for Taumalolo. Really want to watch his time, watch how much involvement he gets in the next couple of weeks, very much this week, to have a look at him in round 17. But he could be a very good option, Taumalolo. I think if he continually gets 50 minutes now, if Toddy Payton's ethic around him we'll start him off nice and slow during the year. We won't burn him out. We won't fizz him out. Towards the middle and back end around Origin, he can be the guy that steps up. I think he might be a decent purchase. Helam Lukey, he got 50-odd something points as well. for what you bought him for. If you bought him for when he dumbed down, he got 380k. I think he's not a bad buy there. Getting 50s, decent coverage as well. Sam McIntyre, Finfuiaki moves to the bench with Thomas McKaylee also moving to the bench. For the Friday game, 8 o'clock, the late one there, the Rabbits up against the Broncos. Rabbitohs look really, really good from what I saw up against the Titans. Titans attack, from all reports, just wasn't flowing. Look, it was the Latrell and Cody Walker show. These guys were very popular buys last week. Cody Walker, number one bought in this week. I think he's a very popular buy. I think for what his price is and what he can do. Are they back to their best? I think we'll see over the next couple of weeks. I think this will be a really good tester against the Broncos for where they're at. They get a good couple of people returning, so yeah, it'll be one to watch. Latrell Mitchell, we'll start with him, number one. Look, I looked at thinking about going Latrell Mitchell. I wish I did, but then there's a lot of news surrounding that they're thinking about him for centres in Origin, which scares me off a little bit, just for how well I'm trying to prepare for rounds 16 and 19. So, Latrell Mitchell, 834k. He has a break-even of 40. Last couple of weeks, really good. To be fair, his whole year has been really good. He's been pretty decently priced, pretty decently scoring points. He hasn't dipped below too much. He had a game of 36 here in round 3 against the Roosters. I think that turned a couple of people off, but his last 3 games, rounds 11, 12, and 14, he has gone 107, 86 against Parramatta, and now 150 against the Titans. So he's been really good. Even the games before that, 70 against St George, 73 against the Warriors. The only thing that scares me off him is the fact that I think he'll play Origin. I think he will fill that spot where Suli came he's from his suspension. I think he'll fill that spot. I think they need that X factor, that player, that big game player that will not get overawed by going to Melbourne and going to Brisbane. So I think they probably need him in that Origin squad. I think Maguire will be a very brave man to not pick him in the centres, just showing how good he has been the last couple of weeks and how influential he's been for the Rabbits. So I like the look of Latrell Mitchell. I'm probably not a buy this week. I'm going to potentially wait. I've got a few guys that I can get rid of that are going to make me a lot of cash, and I'm hoping Latrell Mitchell, if he doesn't get picked, I'll be able to pick him up in round 16 there. So anyway, Jacob Gagai, he came back on with a 60. If anyone still owns him, he'll make some money out of that, which is really good. Jackie Whiten was decent in the 6th there. Cody Walker, most brought in player this week. Look, I was keen on him last week. I just thought, surrounding my team, I probably have 5'8" sort of covered, I thought, with the likes of Dillbags there. So anyway, Cody Walker, really good price, 597k. He's down 100k from what his average was last year. He has a break-even of -5. So regardless of what happens, he's going to make some cash. His last 2 scores, Cowboys 99 and the Titans 103. Look, the teams that they played then obviously didn't perform that great, but look, his last 2 scores are phenomenal. The thing that worries me is this will be a bit of a litmus test against the Broncos this week. He could potentially go back to what he was averaging, and his average for the year, apart from the last 2 weeks that we saw, was 48 points. So, he's pumping out 43s, 51s, 38s. I'm just a little worried that he's going to go back to that after having 2 pretty easy runs, 2 pretty easy games. It'll just be interesting to see where he falls into that line. But again, like I said, under 600k, Cody Walker, he's an out-and-out gun of Supercoach. Could make you a lot of money and could be a bit of a game changer. The other thing is that Cody Walker could potentially lose Latrell Mitchell to Origin duties if that does happen. So get a bit of a look, a bit of an insight into what's going on there. Davey Mawali, he's been huge the last couple of weeks as well for the Rabbits. I think he pumped out an 80. Really, really good to see. Damien Cook still not getting the 80 with Mamazulis on the bench there, but still, he is becoming a little bit of an option, I think. Nothing too great. But yeah, for what else we got here, Michael Cheekham, he's into the back row. Sean Kepi starting. Keon Koloamatangi. Now, He was a very popular buy last week. Unfortunately, I don't think he had a fantastic game on the weekend of 52. His scores are so consistent with 50, like just popping over 50 from round 8 to 14. He has gone 50, 53, 51, 52, 52. He's got a game in there against Parramatta where he got a double. He went 133, but that doesn't seem to be the case every single week. Just the fact that he can just pump out 50s, it's impressive, but there's just not a lot of upside there at the moment for Keon Kalamatangi. I think we need to look elsewhere. Big news in the number 16 is Cameron Murray comes back into the fray. I think that is awesome news for the Blues as well. If Cam Murray gets through this game, I think Madge picks him. I don't see a world where he won't pick Cam Murray if he gets through this game and gets through it well. I think if he plays 40 minutes coming off the bench, I think he would be mad not to pick Cam Murray for Origin. It doesn't matter that he's coming back from injury. I just think he's an out-and-out gun. For the Bronx, Tristan Saylor at the fullback there. Tony Staggs, Selwyn Cobbo, Corey Oates and Dean Mariner. Ezra Mam and Jock Madden in the halves. Not a great deal going on there. That's just stock standard. Brisbane at the moment with Reece Walsh out and the little general not there yet either. He'll come back at the end of the year. In the forwards, Brendan Piakura, Jordan Ricky, Paddy Carrigan, Payne Haas. Look, Payne Haas has been a little bit disappointing the last couple of weeks. I dare say they're managing him through Origin, as they do every single year. Payne Haas, hopefully he can lose a heap of cash. He only pumped out a 50-something last week. Hoping he can lose a lot of cash and he can work his way into my squad after all is done with the Origin period. Other than that, there's not a great deal going on. Karapani, he is the 18th man at the moment. It'll be interesting to see if he weasels his way to coming back on into that squad. But again, I highly doubt it. So yeah, we'll move on from then. The Tigers up against the Titans. The poor old Tigers. They look diabolical. I'm not sure what they're going to do there at the old Tigers. It seems like they've nearly given up and they're waiting for next year for when Luai comes in. There's a lot of talk around the number 6, Lockie Galvin, very popular sell. Look, I think he's probably not handling it the best. He's 18 years old. He's played all of 10 games in first grade, if that. And he's demanding, I want out. I've had enough of this losing business. It's a bit... I think someone's just got to pull his head in and say, mate, you're 18 years old and you're playing NRL. It's just a bit of a... I think he needs a bit of a wake-up call. Next year could be a phenomenal year for them. They've got some good purchases, so... Yeah, I don't like that shit when there's 18-year-olds saying they've had enough of losing. There's blokes that have been bleeding for that club. You got guys like Alex Twal there that, you know, week in, week out, Api Coruscant, week in, week out, they're trying their guts out and the last thing they want to hear is that shit. But anyway, Alex Lobb, he's on the wing, got a try and only got sub 30 points, so I don't think he's anything to look at. Aiden Caesar comes back into the halves with Api Coruscant at the 7. Look, I hate it for owners. I don't like the Api and 7 move. I think a lot of his points come from his defence. The question marks around how will the attack go, it's just not set in stone. A decent matchup up against the Titans, but Api Coruscant owners, you'd be absolutely filthy on this, I think, moving him from the 9. It'd be interesting to see what happens next week. You know, he's obviously a number for round 16 and 19, so he's obviously you keep him. But I'm just worried he starts to leak a heap of cash over the next couple of weeks. Utsukamanu and Twal come into the starting front row side with Talon De Silva. Now, huge raps on this guy. Apparently played a lot of junior football coming into the ranks. He was very highly touted as the next big thing. I'm excited to watch him play. He's very cheap in the hooker position. I just don't think that they run with Api Coruscant in the 7 for long term. I think when Galvin comes back, he probably moves into the 6 with Aiden Caesar going to the 7 and Api back to 9. So wouldn't be looking at Talon De Silva as a downgrade. I just think you leave that one there. Fanua Pole, he comes into the back row there. He's a decent buy. I think Samuel Afinu, he's just chugging along. If you bought him nice and cheap, you just keep him for the next couple of buy rounds. Justin Matamua, again, nothing special. The bench, nothing really going on there with Safar, Fainu, Porter and Fatape. For the Titans, Keanu Kinney, he retains his fullback spot even with Jaden Campbell coming into the 5'8 position. So that's huge news for Keanu Kinney owners. Not sure how far off our man AJ Brimson is. So that'll be interesting to watch, see what happens with him over the next couple of weeks. Khan Pereira, Kelly, Sami, Jojo Fafita, Jaden Campbell and Kieran Foran make out the back seven there for the Titans. Fodawaker and Pahulu come into the starting squad. They are the starting front rowers. We bought in Pahulu last week just as a bit of a depth gauge thing. Joey Chan, we had him. He was doing nothing. Pahulu scored mid-30s. We jagged him at 250k. So I think he's a better buy than Sam Hughes is. At least we're guaranteed those 40, 50 minutes sort of thing out of him. His work rate probably isn't as good, but yeah, look, I think I'm guaranteed 30 to 40 points out of him every single week. He's 268k still, so he's very cheap. 20 points break even, which is good. It's fantastic. Again, got the 51 minutes, only the 36 points, but still, his minutes are there. As long as his minutes are there and he's getting 30s, I'm happy with 250. He can plug a problem for the bye periods anyway. Plays 16 and 19, so I'm happy with it. For Feeder, 81, we captained him last week. You know, they were just well beaten. He didn't get a lot of opportunities. A little bit concerning there. Jaden Campbell may be feeding him the ball from now on. So Dave Feeder obviously does a lot better with Kieran Foran feeding him the footy and the pills. So we'll have to see what goes on there for the next couple of weeks. Therma, he's been consistent. Then you've got Haas, Verrills on the bench, Isaac Liu, Palacia and Aaron Clark make out the interchange there for the Titans. So not much else to talk about there. The Warriors versus Storm, this will be a cracker, I reckon. I reckon this will be game of the round. The Warriors are flying now. They get their main man, Sean Johnson, back. Storm, they looked a little bit shaky against the Knights over the weekend. The Knights had a bit of a fight back. That was the one game that I did have a bit of a look at. Being a Knights fan, watched that one back. So look, it'll be a lot of people went Jerome Hughes, Tyron Wishart sort of thing. They went massive against the Knights, absolutely huge. Both turned up. I don't think they're going to get as many opportunities over there in New Zealand against the Warriors. The Warriors have been really good defensively over the last couple of weeks. Really picked their stride up. I think they're back to 2023 Warriors. I really do. For the back there, they are all but full strength without Roger Tuivasa-Sheck still out with that hammy injury. Not a lot of reports coming out about that, actually, about what is going on, but he is named number 20 for the reserves. So one to keep an eye on, although it'll be interesting to see if they actually do have him there this week. I think probably one more week he slips out. Rocco Berry was really good over the weekend, and Adam Pompey, he's been very, very consistent for the Warriors over the last couple of weeks. Tamare Martin, he's been absolutely braining it in the seven. The last 3 weeks that they've played without Sean Johnson, he's been their main man and he's killing it. Now that Sean Johnson comes back into the fray, I just think Tamare Martin's points are going to dive. If you have got Tamare Martin, leave him for another week or two. You could possibly run him for the round 16 bye, and then I'd be watching his scores very, very closely. Sean Johnson will just attract so much more pill, and I think Tamare Martin will probably get starved a little bit of the footy. So one to watch there. He could be a potential sell around about round 17 if you needed to move him on, but still his buy schedule is really good until round 19. Forwards, Adam Fanua-Blake comes back after his little discretion, his little slap on the wrist there, makes 100, proves that he's the number one front rower in the game. You need to get him in at some stage. I could see a world where you would want to put him in over this week and start to run him until for the rest of the season, basically. Wade Egan in the 9, Jackson Ford in the 10. Look, he's probably not an option anymore, being in the front row, but Murata Neokora and Mitch Barnett, we bought our man Mitchy Barnett last week, jagged a try, 80-something points in our front row. We love that. We'll take that. Tohu Harris comes on at the 13 as well. For the bench, not a lot going on there, but Kurt Capewell in the 17. That goes to show how well Murata Neokora is doing there in the second row that they put Capewell on the bench. Chanel Harris-Tavita, Dylan Walker and Jazz Tavaga make out that bench spot. For the Storm, Farlago still there. There is no whisper of Lil Pappy coming back into this squad just yet. So a lot of people thought round 14 he was going to be right to go, back and in the fray. But round 14 was the round that he was back running. So still a little way off, I think. Another couple of weeks. Could be a little option on the way for the back end of the series. For the run home, we'll have a look at that. But Saul Farlago, he is at the back. Grant Anderson and Xavier Coates on the wing. Dean Eremaya Nick Meaney make out the centres there. Tyron Wishart been huge the last couple of weeks. 100 against the Knights. Jerome Hughes, 100 again. They are guys that are absolutely braining it. It is just a little bit of a worry if you're going to try and jump on these blokes. I think they are up against it this week against the Warriors over in New Zealand. Be one to watch. Although Jerome Hughes, he'll be a fantastic purchase anyway. He could potentially be your backup halfback until you get Nathan Cleary back, and then you're starting to want to run to, Nico Hines, Nathan Cleary sort of thing there. For the forwards, Joshy King and Tui Kamakamitha, they are partnered in there with Harry Grant. Harry Grant with a 60-something on the weekend. I was happy with that after backing up from Origin. So the fact that he looks like he will back up after Origin is making him even more that fantastic for the Supercoach. For people who own Harry Grant, still pumping out 60s is really good. Sean Bloor, Elias Katoa had a decent night. Trent Liero in the 13. On the bench, Joey Chan, the Enigma. He's back there at the 17, although whether he plays is another thing. He could potentially be swapped out at the last minute. I think we've seen what happens when Joey Chan comes off the bench anyway. He 15s and 20s. So I'm glad I've moved Joey Chan onto Pahulu, and we will just continue to run with that. I'm not sure if I would have sold onto Pahulu if I knew he was there, but again, like I said, if he punches out 17s and 20s, he's a guy that you want to get rid of regardless, because he's going to leak a whole lot of cash. For the Saturday late game, 7:35, we had the Parramatta Eels up against the Roosters. Roosters coming off a bye, and Parramatta coming off a bit of a clunky defeat against the Doggies. The Doggies up against it. A lot of injuries there at the Bulldogs. They will be singing their praises that they have the bye this week with all the injuries they have, and they can sort of work on their team for round 16. For the Parramatta Eels, Gutho at the back there. Pretty much the same as what it was last week. We've got Sivo, Penasini, Sean Russell, Blaze Tulagi coming onto the bench. For anyone like people that were selling him where he missed out, there's potentially 2 times they could have sold Blaze Tulagi and he's come back and bit him in the arse. 60-something, got a nice little try there. So he continues to go up in points, although the break even for him is 70-something. So one to watch. Be interesting to see if he keeps his work rate up. He got 22 points, I think, in runs this for last round. So still a decent base. But if he starts getting into some games harder against the Roosters, I'm not sure if he's a play this week up against the Roosters, but still a guy that's there for the bye period. You can probably trust him to jag a try every now and again, and we like the fact that he is there. Dill Brown in the 6, only scored 50 on the weekend, got a nice little try assist to Kelma Tuilagi that I saw, which we will get on to him later as well. Mitchy Moses in the 7. Look, this will be an Origin audition for him, no doubt about it. Depending on how he goes this round, I think will be the catalyst to see if he plays in State of Origin 2 up against Nico Hines, battling out for that 7. It'll be very interesting to see who wears the 7 jersey for the Blues there for that round. Forwards, Brennan Hands continues as the starting 9, although absolute heartache for owners when Joey Lussick came on and played the last fucking 10 minutes or whatever it was, scoring a 7 there. Joey Lussick, I know a couple of guys in my head-to-head comp got absolutely rissoled with him being an AE nightmare. Cost a couple of boys their round victory, actually. So we have got Kelma Tuilagi, Bryce Cartwright, and Jermaine Hopgood with he's got a bit of nerve damage in his back. Seems to be that he is going to take the field. There was a little whispers that Trent Barrett was saying that he might be out for the week. Just one to monitor with, obviously he's going to play Origin in round 16. If he's out this week, could potentially be a sell and move on to a different guy. Kelma Tuilagi, we're going to get onto him. As the eye test goes, the first couple of weeks I watched Kelma Tuilagi play, I thought, oh, maybe this bloke gets dropped over the next couple of weeks and he doesn't sort of have it for, the standards that are NRL, but his Supercoach scores have been really, really impressive since getting the starting role there on the left-hand edge. 430k for the Parramatta Eels, a minus 11 for his break-even. Really good stuff. The last 3 games, he against the Rabbits, he played 74 minutes for a score of 57. Last week against the Dogs, 80 minutes, 80 points with a try. Sharkies, 80 minutes, 73 points. He is going to explode in cash. The shame is there that he don't have the round 16 bye, but still really good. At 430k, he would be around one of these guys that you would have picked it up at the start of the year. I don't even think you can go too bad with Kelma Tuolagi. A decent purchase, 430k. There's not a lot of guys there that are 430k that are playing 80 minutes in the back row that have obviously the upside and how good he's been playing over the last couple of weeks. Dejan Arce comes on at the 14, so I'm not exactly sure what their process is going to be with having Dejan Arce as he is a half. Obviously, they're not going to sub out Dill Brown or Mitch Moses, but they've got him there in the 14 jersey. Sean Lane, Offangawi, and Makatoa make out the bench there for the Parramatta Eels. For the Roosters, Teddy at the back. Palgo comes in for Suali'i, Joey Manu, Tupu, and Dom Young make out the back five, Luke Keary and Sam Walker. So they are full strength, apart from Suali'i in the back seven. Connor Watson comes into the 9. I'm not sure about this. The Brandon Smith saga about him missing the team meeting. A little bit concerning if you do have Brandon Smith for Connor Watson. Owners, very good, very promising there. If he brains it in that 9 jersey, I think Brandon Smith will find it a little bit hard to come back into that squad over the next couple of weeks. Where Hargraves and Collins start in the front row. Victor Radley in the 12 has been playing very, very good. You've also got Angus Crichton comes back into the fray there. For Victor Radley, 586k, guaranteed not to play Origin. Will play round 16. Will also play round 20 for you. Look, didn't have a good week last week against the Cows in round 13. Didn't have a great week there. But the 96 against Canberra Raiders, playing in that edge role. Really good to see. He's a bit up and down. He's got some 40s in him. He hasn't been playing the 80 minutes a great deal. His last 4 scores of playing 80 minutes of football against the Knights, he got 103 against Melbourne, 59 against Canberra Raiders, 96, and then a little bit lower, 42 against the Cowboys. Look, he's an option. I wouldn't say he's my first option, but if you were looking for a player around that 500-something K, he could be a decent buy for you. Nafua White, 2RF, front row forward, seems to have the 13 jersey as long as Brandon Smith is out of that team and Connor Watson is in the number 9 jersey. Not really sure what's going on with Nat Butcher. He seems to be a little bit on the nose there. For the Roosters, there was talk that he was going to get pinned down in a reserve grade because of his efforts, and then he had a blinder a couple of weeks ago. But anyway, he's there on the bench. Terrell May coming off the bench. It'll be interesting to see how he goes this week with the likes of Collins, Werrell Hargraves, Spencer Lee-New, Nat Butcher, Terrell May. I still think he'll play decent minutes. Nafua White, he could jump into some of his minutes. If you're looking for a player for the next couple of weeks, I think Nafua White is still a decent buy. If he got 50 minutes in round 13, if he can still produce that, that'll be really good to see. I just want to see how he goes with a full-strength squad there coming in for the Roosters. For the first of the Sunday games, 2 o'clock, Manly Seagulls up against the red-hot Mighty Dragons. Lehi Hopewade, he retains his fullback spot there. Look, I don't think he's an option with the likes of Tommy coming back, over the next couple of weeks, I believe. He's only fullback, so I probably can't run it there. But anyway, he's been doing really well there at fullback. Talatau Kula, for people who jumped on him that got into the starting fullback spot there for a bit, it's very disappointing. I think you need to jump off him now. He's going to go back to what he was getting in centres, and he doesn't have that upside of being the fullback, so I think he is a sell. Ruben Garrick, really good on the weekend. Tommy Talau, really good on the weekend. Luke Brooks, our saviour, 68. I didn't watch the game, but anyway, him getting a 68 points, I was pretty thrilled with being my backup halfback. I somehow cannot get rid of him. I just have to keep putting out other fires. Taniela Paseka, Nathan Brown makes his way into the starting front row with Josh Alloway gone for his trip on Dane Laurie, far out. Talk about a brain fade. Carl Lawton in the 9. Hamal Olakawadu named to start, even though he had that little niggling leg injury there. So Olakawadu owners, if you've held him over the bye period, origin period, good to see that he's named. Ben Trebojevic, he had a whale of a game as well. He is named there in the back row with Jake Trebojevic. For the bench, not a lot going on. Chenkum Tong, Waddell, Bullimore, and Toffifai Sipley come into the 17. For the Dragons, Tyrell Sloan, Zach Lomax goes absolutely off last week. Backs up from Origin. Really good to see there from the Dragons. God, they've got to be kicking themselves that he is going next year. He has been an absolute revelation there on the wing. I think he's in trouble of being a winger full-time now. I know he went to leave to go to the Parramatta Eels, but I reckon Parramatta's looking at him on the wing and going, he's a world-class winger. He's now an Origin winger. He's absolutely braining it there on the wing. I think they found his position. I don't understand why he thinks he needs to be playing centre. The involvement that he's had and the amount of runs he takes and the tries he's scoring, if I was him, I'd be more than happy to be stuck there on the wing there. So anyway, Sully, the Fegay brothers, they are in the 4 and the 5 there. Cole, Flanagan and Benny Hunt wrap out the halves there. Jack DeBellin, a bit disappointing. He didn't get huge minutes on the weekend. I don't know if that was niggling injury that they're sort of looking after. But anyway, he, a 46. Look, front row getting a 46, it doesn't hurt you. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't do anything really. Jack DeBellin, I'm happy with that. Luciano Leilua and Jaden Sewer come into the back row with Raymond Fatala Mariner, who has been really good the last 2 weeks. He goes back to the bench. If you've had him over the Origin period and you're looking to cash in on his last 2 scores, leave him this week. I think he's got a very low break even, but I'll be moving him on. Tom Eisenhuth moves to the 13, where he's been quite consistent for teams as well. So apart from that, not a great deal going on. Murdoch Masilla, he's cheap, but he's been going average again. So we will run on to the last game of the round. It is the Knights up against the Panthers there at McDonald Jones. Fletcher Sharp, the big news there, has the number 1 jersey over poor old David Armstrong. I don't know. David Armstrong didn't do a lot wrong. You know, it seems as though he's had 1 or 2 subpar games. There was always talk about Fletcher Sharp being the guy there to back up for Ponga. So Fletcher Sharp gets the 1 jersey. Dave Armstrong actually has a release that I saw this afternoon to the UK Super League. So he will ply his trade over there in the UK. Wish him the best of luck. On the wing there, Greg Marzu and Anari Tuwala. Dane Gagai, Bradman Best comes back. He will no doubt be auditioning for an Origin spot as well. Be interesting to see how he goes. Massive test up against the Penrith Panthers. So if he brains it, he could be in for a shot there at the Blues right-hand edge there. Or potentially he'll go to the left and Critter will come over to the right. Cogger and Hastings had a much better week. They're in the 6 and 7, but still not really Supercoach relevant. Brayley, he continues to chug along nicely for owners who bought him nice and cheap, but he's not a buy. Kaipi is poor, pumped out of 60. Bit of a lifting charge there for him, though. Jacob Safidi, starting squad. Adam Elliott. Tyson Frizzell moves on to the back row with Dylan Lucas moving back to the bench. I think Dylan Lucas is pretty hard done by there, getting a double on the weekend out there in the centres. I thought maybe he might retain his spot in the back row, but not to be. Apart from that, Phoenix Crossland, Safidi, Brodie Jones making out the interchange. Not a great deal going on there for the Knights this time of year. They do have decent buy coverage, but they do not do round 16. So, yeah, look, I think if you've got David Armstrong, he's obviously a sell, although I'm not looking to sell him this week. I've got 3 guys in mind that I'm looking to sell for round 16, and they will be... One of them will be David Armstrong. We'll get into that and tell you what we're going to do further round 16, potentially, see what happens. For the Panthers, Dylan Edwards, anyone who held on to him like I did, he is back this week. That is really, really positive news. He, again, Origin audition. I've got no doubt in my mind that Dylan Edwards potentially gets his fullback role back. There's a lot of uncertainty around fullbacks at the moment in the Supercoach world. Are they going to play Origin? Who's going to play where? Dylan Edwards, Tedesco, Latrell Mitchell, these kind of guys. It's just very interesting to see what's going to happen with all this. Dill Edwards coming back. I think he's going to have a massive game. I think he's going to bust his nut, trying to impress and say, look, you picked me first for a reason, Madge. Pick me again. Taruva and Brian Toto on the wings. Alamotti, Targo. Brian Toto had a much better game there last week. So good work for owners there. I doubt many people are holding him through the bye period, but still had a good week last week. Jack Cole and Luai are in the halves there. For the forwards, Scotty Sorensen, Luke Garner, Isaiah Yeo, Fisher Harris, Mitch Kenny, and Moses Leota. Not much going on there for the teams, but Scotty Sorensen's an interesting one now that he is back into the fray. He should be playing decent minutes. Last year, he had a really, really good year towards the back end of the season. More so, he is down 131k on last year. He has a break even of 64, so you could let it slide for another week. But the last couple of weeks, 58, 68, and 48. It'd just be interesting to see if he can get his bit of a groove thing going back on. If he continues to go like he did last year, he'll be an option. I think we'll have to wait until Nathan Cleary comes back and Jerome Luai, and they get their partnership back on those edges there until he becomes a bit of an option. Hopefully he can stay nice and low. Cleary comes back, Luai comes back. They work on those combinations like they were to the back end of last year. And Scotty Sorensen could be a serious option there. Other than that, Dane Laurie was really impressive. He comes into the 14. It is a bit of a shame that the last game of the round will be 100% if Dylan Edwards plays or not. I think there's a world if Dylan Edwards does have any issues with that quad injury, Dane Laurie will come into the squad at fullback there and they will rest Dylan Edwards, although I dare say he will be saying to Ivan Cleary, please let me play, no dramas. Liam Henry had another whale of a game there, moves to the bench. Look, if you got on him at the start of the year, I don't even know when you would pick to play him or not, but he is now bumped out to 477k, break even of 0, so he takes the field. You are making cash. 41 minutes, 82 points. The last 3 games, he's gone 74, 76, 82. He's played 40 minutes for 74, 74 minutes for 76, and 41 minutes for 82. Really impressive stuff there. He's now made you 240k, so really, really good to see. Other than that, we are probably not a great deal going on. Lindsay Smith's pumping out 40s, but again, he's not 100% Supercoach relevant, so we'll leave him. For the Ferrets this week, look, there's a lot of trades I want to make, but there's a lot of trades that I'm very worried about over the Origin period about what is the best route to go. So I think I'm just going to leave the guys like Dave Armstrong, Lockie Galvin. I think I'm going to leave them this week. Potentially, yes, if I run a Jerome Hughes, a Cody Walker, these kind of guys could potentially, be missing out on $50,000, $60,000 discount on those guys. But look, I'm happy to take that hit to know that I've got the right guys for round 16. I'm probably looking at no trades this week so that I can make 3 next week and really solidify my round 16 and 19 teams. If it's just, at the moment, I'm running Dylan Edwards and Ruben Garrick as my fullback combination. So I really want to put Garrick back up into my centres, and I'll probably look at selling David Armstrong. Potentially, I will be going next week Galvin, Armstrong, and potentially Kyle Iro. Now that he is sort of maxed out, I know he's pumping out 50s and it's really impressive, but he just doesn't have those attacking stats. I think he may be an option to move on. I'll have to wait and see. The other option that I could get rid of is Joshy Curran, depending on what happens with his head injury. It was a really, really bad one on the weekend. It depends how much they look at resting him with that head knock, how many games he may miss for that. I doubt that he's going to be a 2-week turnaround sort of thing, the 11-day stand down. That was a really, really bad head knock. So, no trades this week. Looking at potentially going Joshy Curran, Galvin, and David Armstrong out. I'll be looking at bringing potentially Tedesco back into my squad. Depends who is playing Origin. If that happens, I obviously won't be doing that. But then I'll be running a Cody Walker or a Jerome Hughes next week. With them having tough matchups this week as well, I'm hoping that they don't score too big and I don't miss out on too many points. And then, we'll probably bring in a low baller for Joshy Curran. But anyway, that is us for this round. Good luck in round 15, guys. Hopefully we have a bit of a better round and we can get back up around that top 100. That's our goal. Fingers crossed we can have a bit of a better week this week. Our team's looking really, really good. Just a quick run through. We're running Harry Grant as our hooker. Front row is Jack DeBell and Mitch Barnett. 2 RFs are Dave Fafita, Elias Katoa, Ewan Aitken, and Britton Nakora will get a reserve spot. Halfback Nico Hines, we're putting the VC on him this week. 5'8", Dill Brown. Wing centres are Joey Manu, Dom Young, Val Holmes, Asako. Fullback Dill Edwards. He is looking like he's going to be our captain. Fingers crossed he's 100%, he's right. I've got no doubt in my mind he'll play, and he'll put on a bit of a show there against the Knights. Like I said, our reserves will be Britton Niokora, Blaze Talagi, maybe. So far, that's who we're running with, but it could change. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Kyle Iro and Ruben Garrick on our bench there, make out our 17. So that's about all we've got time for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Loving all the subscribers and loving all the people that are jumping on our Instagram and getting involved, asking questions. Love hearing from you. Love getting back and just chatting about Supercoach. So all the best, guys. Take care. Good luck in round 15.